This is number 13 from the first semester final exam. The problem says, solve for all values of x to the nearest hundredth. Here we have 3x over x plus 2 minus 2 over x equals 9 over x times the quantity x plus 2. Okay, let's do this problem here. I'm going to write it down again so everyone can see it clearly. Here we have the problem. 3x over x plus 2 minus 2 over x is equal to 9 over x times the quantity x plus 2. Good. The first thing that we will do is we will change the subtraction sign into a plus the opposite. That avoids making a common mistake when we distribute later. Change this subtraction sign into a plus and make this a negative 2. Now let's use clearing the fraction to remove all the fractions here. To clear this fraction, I'm going to multiply everything by x plus 2. So on both sides, I'm going to multiply by the quantity x plus 2. On the left side, and also on the right side, x plus 2. Good. Okay, when we multiply x plus 2 times 3x over x plus 2, those cancel out and we end up with just 3x plus. Now there is no x plus 2 down here, so when we multiply the x plus 2 times negative 2 over x, we end up with negative 2 times the quantity x plus 2 over that x. Nothing canceled out. Equals. There is an x plus 2 in this denominator, so these x plus 2's cancel out and we end up with 9 over x. Good. What can we multiply through by so that we can cancel out these fractions? Right? So we're going to clear the fraction by multiplying both sides by x. So we multiply both sides by x here, on both sides. X times 3x is 3x squared, plus x times negative 2 times the quantity x plus 2 over x. There is an x down here in the denominator, so those cancel out, and we end up with negative 2 times the quantity x plus 2 is equal to 9 over x times x. Those x's cancel out, and we get a 9. What we have now is much nicer than what we started with, because there aren't any fractions there. Let's distribute, and then set this equal to 0. So we have 3x squared plus negative 2 times x is negative 2x, plus negative 2 times 2 is negative 4, is equal to 9. We keep on going by getting this quadratic equation equal to 0, so that we can solve it by factoring or by using the quadratic formula. So this becomes, we'll subtract 9 from both sides, and we have 3x squared minus 2x minus 13 is equal to 0. I take a look at it to see if I can factor this. I don't think we can factor this, but we can use the quadratic formula. Remember, the quadratic formula looks like this. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So what are the values of a, b, and c? Well, a is equal to 3, b is equal to negative 2, and our c is equal to negative 13. Let's plug these values into the quadratic formula and try to find x. Good. So we have a negative of a negative 2 plus or minus the square root of negative 2 squared minus 4 times 3 times negative 13. And this is all divided by 2 times 3. We've just simply replaced all the values for a, b, and c into the quadratic formula, and now we need to simplify. Well, a negative of a negative 2 is 2, plus or minus the square root of, here this becomes a 4. This negative 4 and this negative 13, when we multiply those together, is going to become positive. altogether, we have negative 4 times 3 times negative 13, and I think that becomes 156. This is a positive 156 because those two negatives become positive, and this is all divided by 6. We can simplify this a bit more, of course. So this is 2 plus or minus the square root of 160 all over 6. Now this 160 is the same thing as 16 times 10. So this is equal to 2 plus or minus the square root of 16 times 10, and this is all divided by 6. But this 16 times 10, you see 16 is a perfect square, so we can bring out a 4, right? The square root of 16 is 4, leaving us that square root of 10. So this becomes 2 plus or minus 4 radical 10, everything divided by 6. And then we can break this into two fractions so that we can simplify it a little more. So this is 2 divided by 6 plus or minus 4 radical 10 divided by 6. And now let's just simplify each part. 2/6 is the same thing as 1/3 plus or minus 4/6 is the same thing as 2/3. This is 2 radical 10 over 3. And here are going to give us our two possible solutions. The problem wanted us to give this to the nearest hundredth, so let's do that now. Let's find our two possible values. Well, we have one possibility is that x is 1/3 plus 2 radical 10 over 3. I'm typing that into the calculator right now. So that's 1 divided by 3 plus 2 radical 10 divided by 3. That gives us, to the nearest hundredth, that gives us 2.44. This is what that looks like on the calculator. Here I am dividing 1/3 plus 2 radical 10 over 3, rounded to the nearest hundredth. And the other possibility is when we subtract, so that's going to be 1/3 minus 2 radical 10 over 3, and that gives us negative 1.77 when rounded to the nearest hundredths. Here is that. See, here are our two possibilities, 1/3 plus 2 radical 10 over 3, and 1/3 minus 2 radical 10 over 3, rounded to the nearest hundredth. And here are the two best answers.